Here's something WWE doesn't want you to think about. Their best moments often happen when the script gets thrown out the window completely. Whether it's a performer showing up in no condition to wrestle, a botched finish that exposes the business, or real emotions bleeding through the predetermined storylines, these 9 matches prove that reality makes better television than fiction. We're talking about moments so chaotic that production meetings happened live on pay-per-view in front of confused audiences. Royal Rumble 2005. Picture this. You're watching the Royal Rumble 2005 finale, and both John Cena and Batista hit the floor at the exact same time, creating wrestling's most awkward production meeting in front of 17,000 confused fans. What happened was supposed to be the easiest finish in wrestling. The plan was simple. Batista eliminates Cena cleanly to win his first Royal Rumble and earn his Wrestlemania title shot against Triple H. WWE had spent weeks building toward this moment, positioning the Animal as the next big babyface ready to take the title from Evolution's leader. Instead of a clean finish, both men tumbled over the top rope simultaneously in what can only be described as Murphy's Law, attacking sports entertainment. The referees from Raw and SmackDown immediately started arguing about who actually won, with each official claiming their show's representative had hit the ground first. Fans in the arena watched in confusion as the refs huddled together like they were trying to figure out a blown call in the Super Bowl. What happened next turned into wrestling's most public backstage chaos as Vince McMahon stormed to the ring to fix the mess in real time. The chairman literally tore both his quad muscles while sliding under the bottom rope, but he kept barking orders to confused officials while sitting on the canvas like a wounded general, still commanding his troops. The sight of WWE's billionaire owner stuck on the mat, grimacing in pain but refusing to stop micromanaging, perfectly captured how seriously the company takes its predetermined outcomes. Fans watched in bewilderment as WWE's carefully planned Royal Rumble winner got decided by an impromptu booking committee meeting on live pay-per-view. McMahon sat cross-legged on the canvas, pointing at referees and wrestlers while trying to salvage what was supposed to be a straightforward finish. The whole scene felt like watching someone's dad try to fix a broken toy while the birthday party waited. You could practically see the gears turning in McMahon's head as he realized 17,000 people had just witnessed WWE's carefully constructed illusion fall apart. The restart that followed felt more like damage control than sports entertainment, with Batista eventually getting his planned victory in the most unplanned way possible. Both wrestlers had to climb back into the ring and essentially redo the finish, except now everyone in the building knew it was fake. McMahon's torn quads became wrestling legend, proving that even the boss isn't immune to physics when reality crashes into scripted drama. The injury was so severe that he had to be helped to the back, turning what should have been a triumphant moment into medical drama. This botched finish created one of wrestling's most memorable moments, showing how genuine confusion can be more entertaining than perfect execution. The incident perfectly captured how thin the line is between controlled chaos and actual disaster in live wrestling, where one mistimed bump can turn your biggest pay-per-view into an emergency production meeting. The WrestleMania 35 botch. WrestleMania 35 was supposed to make history as the first WrestleMania main event featuring women, but a miscommunication nearly turned Becky Lynch's crowning moment into wrestling's most embarrassing disaster. The plan was simple enough. Lynch would pin Ronda Rousey to win both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships in a triple threat match that also included Charlotte Flair. WWE had spent months building this as the man, finally getting her moment on the grandest stage. But nobody prepared for what would happen when the biggest spot of the night went completely sideways. The finish was supposed to be clean and decisive. Rousey would attempt her armbar submission on Lynch, but the man would roll through and pin Ronda's shoulders to the mat for the 3 count. It was wrestling storytelling 101, with the underdog overcoming the unbeatable champion through heart and determination rather than cheap tactics. What actually happened was a comedy of errors that left everyone in MetLife Stadium confused about what they had just witnessed. Lynch rolled Rousey up for the pin, but Ronda's shoulders were clearly off the mat when referee Rod Zapata counted 3. The crowd could see it, the cameras caught it perfectly, and worst of all, Rousey herself knew she hadn't been pinned. Instead of the triumphant coronation WWE had orchestrated, they got a finish that looked botched on the biggest possible stage. The cameras showed Rousey's shocked expression as she realized the match had ended while her shoulders were visibly elevated off the canvas. What made it worse was Rousey's genuine confusion in the moment, as she looked around trying to figure out why the match had stopped. This wasn't a veteran wrestler who could smoothly cover for a mistake. This was someone relatively new to the business who had just experienced her first major botch in front of 82,000 people. You could see the wheels turning in her head as she tried to process whether this was part of the script or if something had gone wrong. The aftermath was equally awkward, as Lynch celebrated her historic victory while fans and commentators tried to make sense of what they'd just seen. WWE's production team scrambled to frame the finish as intentional, but replays made it impossible to ignore that the decisive moment of their biggest women's wrestling storyline had been bungled. The announcers did their best to sell the finish, but their voices betrayed the confusion that everyone was feeling. Backstage, panic set in as WWE officials realized their history-making moment might be remembered for all the wrong reasons. This wasn't just any match. It was supposed to be the culmination of Becky Lynch's rise from afterthought to the face of women's wrestling. Instead of a clean victory that validated her journey, they got a finish that raised questions about whether she had legitimately won the championships. The controversy overshadowed what should have been pure celebration, as social media immediately lit up with fans debating whether the finish was intentional or if WWE had botched their most important women's wrestling moment. Jeff Hardy vs. Sting, 2011. Victory Road 2011 was supposed to showcase TNA's biggest stars, but Jeff Hardy showed up in no condition to perform, creating wrestling's most awkward main event disaster. The planned main event between Hardy and Sting was meant to be a marquee attraction for TNA's biggest pay-per-view of the year. TNA had positioned this match as their Wrestlemania moment, with Hardy as the popular champion defending against the legendary Sting in what should have been a dream match for longtime wrestling fans. When Hardy's entrance made it clear something was seriously wrong, Sting found himself in an impossible situation with thousands watching live. The moment Hardy stumbled down the ramp, everyone in the building knew this wasn't going to be the match they had advertised. Hardy's movements were erratic and unfocused, making it obvious to fans and wrestlers alike that he was in no condition to work a main event match. The veteran Sting immediately recognized the situation and realized he would have to handle this crisis in real time. The veteran had to completely abandon the planned match and improvise a solution that would protect everyone involved while somehow salvaging the show. Sting made the split-second decision to throw out whatever they had rehearsed and focus entirely on damage control. He knew that letting Hardy perform in that condition would be dangerous for both wrestlers and embarrassing for the company. So Sting took charge of the situation like the professional he was, even though it meant sacrificing his own performance. What followed was a 90-second match that consisted mostly of Sting trying to end things as quickly and safely as possible. The icon hit his finishing move almost immediately and pinned Hardy before anything else could go wrong. The audience's confusion turned to anger as they realized they were witnessing a legitimate crisis management situation rather than entertainment. Fans had paid good money to see a main event and instead got what felt like an emergency response. Sting essentially had to shoot on a fellow babyface to preserve what little dignity remained of TNA's biggest show of the year. This put the veteran in an uncomfortable position where he had to protect the business by making his opponent look bad. The incident forced real-time decision-making that prioritized safety over storytelling, creating an uncomfortable viewing experience for everyone involved. You could see Sting's frustration as he tried to salvage what should have been a career-defining moment. This disaster became a cautionary tale about how personal struggles can completely derail professional obligations in live entertainment. The moment highlighted the fragile balance between performer wellness and show business demands in professional wrestling. What was supposed to be TNA's biggest night became a reminder that wrestling companies depend entirely on their performers showing up ready to work. And when that doesn't happen, even the most experienced veterans can't save the show. R-Truth's accidental U.S. title. Win R-Truth's bewildered expression after accidentally pinning Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship in 2019 perfectly captured wrestling's capacity for unscripted comedy gold. The veteran performer had been working WWE programming for years at that point, so he knew exactly how matches were supposed to go. What happened was supposed to follow a different script, but wrestling's unpredictable nature had other plans for the veteran performer. The match itself was part of WWE's regular television programming, where everything usually goes according to plan and surprises are carefully orchestrated. When Truth executed what seemed like a routine roll-up, even he appeared genuinely surprised that it actually resulted in a 3 count and a title change. You could see the confusion wash over his face as the referee's hand hit the mat for the 3rd time. The referee's count seemed to catch everyone off guard, including Truth himself, who looked around as if asking whether this was really happening. His eyes went wide and he started looking at the referee, then at Nakamura, then back at the referee like he was trying to process what had just occurred. The whole thing felt different from WWE's usual perfectly timed moments. His authentic confusion created a moment of unplanned humor that resonated more than most scripted comedy segments ever could. Truth's natural personality shone through in that instant when he realized he had accidentally won championship gold. The cameras caught every second of his genuine surprise, and fans immediately recognized that this wasn't part of the show they were supposed to see. What made the moment even better was how it left everyone wondering whether this was planned or not. Years later, Truth revealed in interviews that the finish wasn't supposed to happen that way, confirming fans' suspicions about the genuine nature of his surprise. In a 2025 interview, Truth said that while he was scheduled to eventually win the match, the roll-up count was completely accidental. This confirmation made the moment even more special because it proved that fans' instincts about authenticity were correct. The botched finish accidentally created one of the most memorable and endearing title changes in recent memory. Instead of feeling like a mistake that hurt the show, Truth's genuine reaction turned it into something charming and human. Truth's natural charisma turned what could have been an embarrassing mistake into a charming moment of accidental brilliance. He managed to make the confusion feel endearing rather than awkward, which takes real skill. This unplanned championship win proved that genuine reactions often create more memorable television than perfectly executed scripts. The incident showed how wrestlers' authentic personalities can shine through even when everything goes wrong. Truth's ability to handle the unexpected situation with his trademark humor and confusion made fans connect with him on a different level than any scripted segment could have achieved. Bret Hart versus Goldberg. One mistimed kick from Goldberg to Bret Hart turned what should have been a routine match into wrestling's most expensive accident, ending the Hitman's career prematurely. The match was positioned as a marquee attraction featuring 2 of WCW's biggest stars in what should have been a safe, well-executed bout. WCW had invested heavily in both wrestlers, with Hart being their prized acquisition from WWE and Goldberg representing their homegrown success story. The company expected this match to deliver both entertainment value and showcase the talent that made WCW competitive with WWE during the Monday Night Wars. When Goldberg's momentum carried his boot into Hart's head with more force than planned, the scripted entertainment immediately became a medical emergency. What happened was a simple miscalculation of distance and timing that had devastating consequences. Goldberg's superkick connected with Hart's skull in a way that went far beyond the controlled impact that professional wrestling requires. The sound of the boot hitting Hart's head was different from the usual theatrical contact that fans were used to hearing. The impact caused a severe concussion that would plague Hart for months and ultimately force him into early retirement. Hart's symptoms went far beyond the typical bumps and bruises that wrestlers deal with as part of their job. He experienced headaches, dizziness, and cognitive issues that made it impossible for him to continue performing at the level fans expected from the excellence of execution. The concussion affected his balance, his memory, and his ability to take the physical punishment that wrestling demands. What was supposed to be another chapter in Hart's legendary career instead became its tragic final page due to one moment of mistimed execution. The incident highlighted how quickly professional wrestling's controlled violence can cross the line into genuine danger. Hart had spent decades perfecting the art of making wrestling look real while keeping everyone safe. But one mistake from his opponent erased all of that careful preparation. The veteran wrestler had survived countless matches with some of the most dangerous performers in the business, only to have his career ended by an accident. Hart's post-concussion struggles became a stark reminder of the physical risks that lurk beneath wrestling's entertainment facade. WCW lost one of their most valuable performers due to an accident that could have been avoided with better timing and communication. The company had spent significant money bringing Hart over from WWE, and they watched their investment disappear because of one botched move. The financial impact was huge, but the human cost was even greater. This career-ending mistake demonstrated how a single botched move can have consequences that extend far beyond one match. The incident remains a cautionary tale about the fine line between safe execution and dangerous accidents in professional wrestling. Hart's forced retirement showed that even the most experienced wrestlers can have their careers ended in an instant when safety protocols break down and real violence replaces controlled performance. CM Punk's Pipe Bomb. CM Punk's Pipe Bomb. Promo collapsed the distance between character and reality so completely that WWE had to pretend it was all planned while scrambling to maintain control. What happened on June 27, 2011 was supposed to be a standard heel promo, where Punk would deliver his usual complaints to build heat for upcoming storylines. WWE had positioned him as a rising star who could cut good promos and generate crowd reactions, but they expected him to stay within the boundaries of his character and the predetermined storylines they had mapped out for him. Punk was supposed to deliver a standard heel promo, but his real-life frustrations with WWE management turned it into something far more authentic and dangerous. As Punk grabbed the microphone and sat cross-legged on the entrance ramp, something shifted in his delivery that immediately caught everyone's attention. His voice carried a different energy than the usual scripted complaints that wrestlers typically deliver during their television segments. As Punk aired his genuine grievances about the company, backstage officials realized they were witnessing something that went far beyond the script. He started criticizing WWE's creative decisions, their reliance on part-time wrestlers, and his own treatment within the company's structure. The way he spoke made it clear that these weren't fictional character complaints but real frustrations from the person behind the wrestling persona. His worked shoot felt uncomfortably real because it was real. Punk was using live television to voice legitimate complaints about his treatment. He expressed dissatisfaction with his booking decisions, the lack of opportunities he felt he deserved, and the way WWE prioritized certain wrestlers over others. The authenticity in his voice made viewers realize they were hearing something genuine, rather than another scripted segment designed to advance predetermined storylines. The promo's authenticity made it instantly compelling in ways that scripted promos rarely achieve, creating a must-see moment that fans are still discussing. WWE found themselves in the awkward position of having to incorporate Punk's real complaints into their storylines while trying to regain control of the narrative. The company's initial reaction was to suspend Punk, but the overwhelming positive response from fans and media forced them to reconsider their approach. The segment marked a turning point where fans began craving reality more than perfect storytelling, changing wrestling's relationship with authenticity. Punk's genuine emotion superseded WWE's planned character arcs, forcing them to build storylines around his real frustrations rather than the fictional conflicts they had originally planned. The company realized they had stumbled onto something that generated more buzz than their carefully crafted scripts. This worked. Shoot Revolution proved that authentic emotion could be more compelling than any scripted drama WWE's writers could create. The pipe bomb became a template for blending reality with fiction that wrestling companies still try to recreate today, showing how genuine feelings can make better television than predetermined outcomes. The Montreal Screwjob. The Montreal Screwjob turned a simple title change into wrestling's most infamous real-life betrayal, creating a conspiracy theory that fans still debate decades later. What happened at Survivor Series 1997 was supposed to be straightforward business. Bret Hart would lose his WWF Championship to Shawn Michaels before leaving for WCW. But Hart was supposed to lose his WWF Championship to Shawn Michaels, but not in his hometown of Montreal, and definitely not the way it actually happened. The original plan called for a disqualification finish that would protect Hart's reputation in front of his Canadian fans while still getting the title off him before his departure. When Vince McMahon ordered the bell to ring during a submission hold that Hart never actually submitted to, wrestling's biggest shoot was born. McMahon had secretly instructed referee Earl Hebner to call for the bell when Michaels locked Hart in the sharpshooter, Hart's own finishing move. The champion was still fighting the hold, showing no signs of giving up, when Hebner suddenly signaled for the timekeeper to ring the bell. The crowd's confusion matched Hart's as everyone tried to process what had just happened. Hart's genuine fury and confusion were captured on live television as he realized he'd been double-crossed by his own boss in front of his home country. The cameras caught every moment of the hitman's shock as he looked around the ring, trying to understand why the match had ended. His face showed the real-time realization that he had been betrayed by people he trusted. The confusion quickly turned to rage as Hart started destroying ringside equipment and confronting officials. The hitman's post-match spit in McMahon's face wasn't acting. It was the real reaction of a man who felt betrayed by someone he trusted. This wasn't a scripted heel turn or character development. Hart's spit was pure emotion from someone who felt his boss had humiliated him in front of his home fans and broken promises about how his departure would be handled. The gesture became one of wrestling's most iconic moments because everyone knew it was completely genuine. Shawn Michaels transformed from performer to accomplice in wrestling's greatest conspiracy, forever changing his relationship with fans and fellow wrestlers. Michaels knew about the plan beforehand, making him part of the deception against Hart. This knowledge changed how wrestlers and fans viewed him for years afterward. The incident created a real-life soap opera that was more compelling than any scripted storyline WWE had ever produced. McMahon's betrayal of Hart became the foundation for his villainous Mr. McMahon character, turning real-life heat into television gold. The genuine anger from fans toward McMahon was so intense that he decided to embrace it and turn himself into wrestling's most hated villain. This ultimate betrayal proved that genuine emotion and real conflict create more memorable television than any predetermined outcome. The Montreal Screwjob remains wrestling's most analyzed moment, showing how reality can be more dramatic than any script. ECW One Night Stand 2005. ECW One Night Stand. 2005 was supposed to be a nostalgic reunion, but the Philadelphia crowd turned it into a real assault on WWE's current product that nobody could control. WWE planned a feel-good tribute to the defunct ECW promotion, expecting fans to enjoy a trip down memory lane with their favorite hardcore wrestling memories. The company figured this would be an easy win. Bring back some ECW legends, let them have a few matches, and watch the fans cheer for the good old days. What they didn't expect was how deeply these fans still felt about ECW's death and WWE's role in killing it. Instead, the passionate Philadelphia audience used the event as an opportunity to voice their genuine displeasure with WWE's current direction. The crowd came loaded for bear, ready to make their feelings known about how WWE had sanitized professional wrestling. These weren't casual fans enjoying a nostalgia trip. They were hardcore ECW supporters who still felt angry about losing their favorite wrestling promotion. The energy in the building was different from a typical WWE show, carrying an edge that felt more personal and political. The crowd's intensity transformed what should have been a celebration into a political statement about respect for wrestling's underground roots. Fans channeled their nostalgia into genuine anger, creating an atmosphere that felt more like a protest than a wrestling show. You could feel the hostility building throughout the night as the audience made it clear they weren't just there to remember the past. They were there to criticize the present. The chants weren't just supporting ECW wrestlers. They were actively attacking WWE's current product. WWE's current stars became targets for the crowd's frustration, turning the reunion into an uncomfortable confrontation between past and present. When WWE wrestlers appeared on screen or were mentioned, the crowd's reaction was genuinely hostile rather than the usual mixed reactions that WWE shows typically generate. The audience treated current WWE performers like they were invading sacred ground, making it clear that they preferred the raw, authentic feel of old ECW over the polished entertainment that WWE provided. The audience's emotional investment overrode WWE's scripted boundaries, proving that passionate fans could hijack any narrative. What started as goodwill toward a beloved wrestling promotion became a weapon against the company that bought and buried it. The fans used their love for ECW as a way to attack WWE. turning positive emotions into negative ones directed at the current product. The atmosphere was so intense that it felt like the crowd was holding WWE responsible for everything they felt was wrong with modern wrestling. This fan hijacking demonstrated how strong emotional connections to wrestling can override any corporate attempt to control the narrative. The event showed that sometimes the audience's genuine feelings are more powerful than any story WWE's writers can create. The Philadelphia crowd proved that when fans have deep emotional investment in something, they can completely change the tone and meaning of an event, regardless of what the promoters intended. These moments prove that wrestling's greatest entertainment value often comes from the collision between scripted fiction and uncontrolled reality. When performers forget their acting, when plans fall apart, and when genuine emotions take over, wrestling becomes something more compelling than any predetermined storyline could ever be. What happened was that real human reactions created better television than any writer's room could produce. The Montreal Screwjob, Vince McMahon tearing his quads, and CM Punk's pipe bomb all worked because they felt authentic in ways that scripted segments rarely achieve. The next time you watch wrestling, remember that the most memorable moments might be the ones nobody planned at all. Like and subscribe for 1,000 years of luck.